Hello, everybody. Welcome along. My name is Benjamin Bloom. This is the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel. Please leave your bias at the door and join us for another season review. Yes, we are banging them out today. We are ticking them off, I must admit. I had quite a few stacked up ready to film today, so I'm just getting the job done before it gets too late. We are looking at Preston North End this season. So down into the bottom half, which is an odd place for Preston to be of late because they've been finishing the top half since they've been back in the Championship. But a bit of I want to say tumultuous year, but a little bit of ups and downs in this one. A manager's going to go. A bit of chaos in the middle of the season as well with some ins and some outs. So we'll try and take a look at Preston and have a figure out what they're going to do next and how it was that this season transpired. I say about them not used to being in the bottom half. You can see that one bottom half finished their 14th place in 2018-19, but it was 9th last season, 4 points off the playoffs. It was open, wasn't it? That one last season. 4 teams quite a long way ahead of everybody else. One very good team at the top. Forest falling out of the playoffs. It could have been anyone. It was Swansea who got in there at the end. But Preston, 9th position. And to go with the big picture, since promotion, a couple of 11ths under Simon Grayson. And then Alex Neil comes in, 7th, which was excellent. You see there's 73 points there. 14th. Not so good, obviously. And then 9th. So generally a pretty high standard set by Alex Neil, especially with that 7th place season. Was he a bit reliant on what he was given beforehand? I don't know. He certainly shaped the team in his own image since. And he went into season number 1, 2, 3, 4 this season. He's not going to last to the end of it, which would have been a rare old thing in Championship terms, but there you go. Quiet summer, and I think this is probably start of the issues here. Emile Riche in 1.35 million, and then down the bottom there, the outs, well, Armour, O'Connor, Simpson, Clark, O'Reilly, Hudson, Walker, Ginley, Crow. Loans, free transfers. I always talk on these videos about a recruitment cycle, a recruitment churn. I always do that, I think, at the same time as I talk about it. And Preston have been really good at this recently. When I say recently, I mean the last 3 or 4 seasons. And the question I always ask is, can you produce and develop a player that you can sell for a lot of money that will then finance 2 or 3 players to come in and keep the wolf from the door FFP-wise if you don't have those hulking great parachute payments? Preston have sort of done that quite well, haven't they? Jordan Hugill is a big one, went off to West Ham for 9 million. Callum Robinson. There have been a few, haven't they? There's going to be a few players who you might have put in that bracket, though, that they didn't get the money for. And this is perhaps the real essence of the problem here, is that at the start of this season, there were 4 players who maybe were considered high-value players that were going into the last year of the contract. They don't sell any of them, and they don't sign new contracts at the start of the season. We're talking Alan Brown, Ben Davies, Ben Pearson, and Daniel Johnson. There was interest. I just wonder with hindsight whether Alex Neil, I don't know whether he had any say in this, if he could wind back the clock knowing, well, spoiler alert, that Ben Pearson and Ben Davies are going to be gone in the middle of the season for probably less than they would have got, certainly if they'd played hardball at the start of the season. Whether he would have preferred double sale, get that done then at the start of the season, because then you have this January kind of ground zero type scenario where it's very all or nothing. And that was what Preston were headed towards after that summer. Recruitment was kind of so quiet, and of course those contracts were then not signed up before January. How did that affect what was happening on the pitch? Well, erratic. And I joked with a couple of Preston fans who watch my channel regularly that I continually would describe Preston as erratic. But hey, you think of a better word. Look at the start of the season there. Ridiculous. Look at the away form. Wins at Brentford, QPR, Huddersfield, at Reading, at Bournemouth, at Derby. Loads of away wins in there. And then look, at home, lose to Swansea, Stoke, Cardiff, Millwall, Birmingham. God, there's probably more in there as I scan down. Oh, there isn't actually. But just very, very odd. Particularly, look at that one. Brentford 2, Preston 4, Norwich 2, Preston 2. Teams that are ultimately going to finish very high up in the table. Preston take 4 points off there, away from home. And then they're losing all their home. It's just complete random up in the airness, wasn't it? We spoke a lot with COVID and empty stadiums about the relationship and the points correlation now with no fans in, and how was this going to work out? Well, very, very weirdly in terms of Preston, wasn't it? For goodness sakes, just losing everything at home, winning everything away. And that obviously pops them in 11th place, near the halfway mark. But the big thing is, look at that. Won 10, drawn 2, lost 10. So you're looking at someone like Stoke in 7th. Preston at that point already having lost twice as many games. And so dropping in 11th place there. But look, 4 points off the playoffs. That's quite a Preston type position since they've been back up, isn't it? I think you would agree. The issue is, and I'm all for counting up the points per game and just totting up the points, but you're losing 10 games. That is too many, isn't it? If you want any kind of a challenge. I think Preston fans are used to a viable top half team, and a viable top half team is only ever a run of wins away from the playoffs, aren't they? So here's your chaotic January, and I always use that word chaos and chaotic because I really, really feel that clubs that are very successful, with a few exceptions that are very, very big clubs, dealing with very, very expensive players, generally stability and a lack of chaos and recruitment being not massive, not loads in, not loads out, contracts, well, there might be a couple run down, but they're not key players. I just feel that this was an iceberg that Preston were ready to hit, and it did sink Alex Neil's Titanic, if that's not a very terrible way of phrasing it. So let's look at the outs. So Ben Davies to Liverpool with a few months left on his contract. That is a 25-year-old, I believe, left-footed English centre-back. And they've barely got, I'm going to say a pittance because it's money that's worthwhile to Preston. We can see that with the arrivals. But if they'd played this right, and they've got good money before for Robinson and Hugel and the like, just feels like a missed opportunity there. Great for Ben Davies, obviously goes to Liverpool, but, well, will we see him returning on loan at some point when the Liverpool defenders that he's brought into cover do get fit? Then Baxter out on loan, Harrop, Walker, Earl, Stockley. Fine, Stockley's an interesting one because a loan out kind of says, is that experiment, has that ship sailed now on Stockley and they're still looking for a striker? Hey, maybe there's going to be one in the arrivals we can talk about. And then look, Ben Pearson, Darnell Fisher as well. That interested me. Both leaving on undisclosed. I don't know about Fisher's contract, but I know Pearson's was expiring. And you're starting to think, have they got the timing of their selling right here? Obviously, Pearson goes off to Bournemouth, Fisher to Borough. But it does feel like that particularly good Alex Neil team that finished in 7th position, really kind of breaking up, falling apart now. All done. So there are the ins. And look, there's some good in here, but it's just a lot in one go. And it's a lot in the middle of the season, isn't it, for goodness sakes? White Man, that's going to turn out to be a good signing. And that could be one that could be a nice saleable asset in the future. Transfermarkt reporting $1.5 million from Donny. Daniel Iverson, that's been really good. Can they get him full-time? Can they get back on loan? Or on a permanent next season. I'm sure they'll take him, the keeper. Greg Cunningham returns from Cardiff. Jay Mollenby. That was a straight shootout between them and Millwall to get him, so they did that. Ched Evans in on loan, and then that is converted, I believe I'm right in saying. So they go into the well of Ched Evans, who's a very long-in-the-tooth striker, so they really haven't sorted out that Jordan Hugill-shaped, Callum Robinson-shaped goal-scoring position up top. Hasn't worked for Stockley, obviously loaned out, Reish coming in, and you're bringing in a journeyman, so to speak, like Ched Evans, and he's taken the shirt. Vandenberg is part of the Liverpool deal. Lindsay on loan. Gordon on loan. All starts to feel very transient, very temporary, very much, look, let's just get some bodies in between now and the end of the season, with the exception, of course, of Ben Whiteman. But yes, it's very easy to sit and say, doesn't feel very long-term what they do in January, especially given the contracts of these players. They knew this a long way out, didn't they, Preston? So I'm very interested to hear what people's take on, basically the management of the recruitment there. So look, some good players, no doubt, but a real hodgepodge and a real chaotic kind of revolving door in that January. Can you fashion that into a team quickly? Obviously, we should say Alan Brown and Dan Johnson did sign new contracts, so that's good news, but it does feel that you're almost already looking at next season, unless the players miraculously all gel at once, and they did not. And it's a slip down to 16th place. Lots more defeats in there, taking the total up to 20 defeats out of those 38 games. Honestly, thank God for the run, from Preston's terms, of away victories at the start of the season, because otherwise, you can see they're 44, they're 6 above relegation. Otherwise, they would have been in real bother. In fact, is that table? Yeah, that table's not counting the -6 off Sheffield Wednesday, by the way, for whatever reason. But yeah, just a poor run there. 1, 2, 3 wins there. I think I've got 16 games up. And yes, that's when, for whatever reason, for right or wrong, it was time, said the Preston higher-ups, to move on from Alex Neil, Preston sack manager after 1 win in 9. 21st of March. Now, if I'm getting my timeline correct, that was right on the start of an international break. And again, we did videos at the time. I did a stream at the time about this decision. Whether it's the right one, whether it's the wrong one, we will find out. He would have been going into year... What was it? Would it have been year 4? Year 5? I think, as Preston manager. Young, loads of experience, some good finishes as well. It just feels like, to give some credit to the Preston hierarchy, if you are going to retool and it's going to be a good team, you've either got to act when they did, or let him go well into next season and try and build another team now without Ben Davies and Ben Pearson. But yep, they decided that was that. And Neil's, I don't think it's an assistant, is it? One of the coaches, Frankie McAvoy, takes over in the short term. But hold that thought to the end of the season, by the way. So Neil out, and I'm sure someone, a championship owner, given how young he is and how much experience he's already got, will be quite happy to offer Alex Neil a contract to manage their club in the future. Might go back up above the border, north of the border. He might go back up to Scotland at some point. Would have just been easier for me to say. But you'd fancy a championship manager will like that combination of experience and youth in the same person, literally. There's Frankie McAvoy's running. And look at that. Very, very good. Draw against Norwich, away win at Swansea. Okay, took a battering against Brentford, didn't they? Then draw at Stoke, win, 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 win to end the season. And, well, that would make quite a good job interview or job audition. And I'm sure we'll get people who'll argue, they've hired... Well, they're going to hire him. We know they're going to hire him, spoiler alert. On the basis of that, I remember Ipswich doing that, my team once, at the end of the season. like winning the last couple of games when everyone was on the beach and jumping up about 5 places. And it is what it is when that happens. It's a 13th place finish, and you can see that 12 points taking them right up to 61 and almost back into the top half. So that was the end of the season for Preston. Really topsy-turvy, incoherent, erratic start, loads of transfer trouble, and ending with a caretaker manager. But McAvoy is then hired at the end of the season and made the permanent manager. And we've done a video on that, so you can discuss what you think about that over there in the comments. Let's go to the summary. So Neil, season number 3. Sorry, I misspoke a few minutes ago. Standards high with 4 top half finishes out of 5. So again, we've got this Millwall syndrome now where the bar is set high, particularly with that 7th place finish in his first season. And then when it does drop below that, especially when they're bottomed out to sort of 16th, you're going to be in trouble, aren't you? Erratic form, first half, just strange. I mean, blame COVID, lack of money, crowds. I think the recruitment churn grinded to a halt was a big issue in the summer as well. But yeah, just an odd start to the season where very unpredictable, weren't they? January problems, long-term planning issues. Look, we do see clubs who have contracts sorted very, very early. It's not just that, it's selling at the right time and not being afraid to sell and then retool. It does feel that Preston painted themselves into a corner with those 4 guys where the contracts were all running out, and it feels like they've lost out as a result. And maybe if they could have their time again, maybe one would go for a much higher fee with a year left on his contract. So, hey, look, maybe they didn't have the interest. We will never know, will we? But it did feel like the long-term planning, and now it feels like they've lost a couple of assets. Obviously, bringing another one in Whiteman, and if they can get Iverson as well, they might have a couple of good saleable ones in there as well. Patrick Bow, we should mention, was like injured the whole season virtually, which could be another saleable asset. So there is talent there in the squad, but it feels like Preston, I would hold up. Brentford, Bristol City, Preston were good at buying and selling, and it feels like Brentford are out on their own now in that, given the other 2 teams I just mentioned. Poor form, Neil out. The right call. I don't know. We'll never know, will we? Would he have stayed and got a tune out of Preston and built up a new team? I don't know. Sometimes is it good to just change things, especially after 3 full seasons? Keep getting this wrong. Yeah, after nearly 3 full seasons, he would have been going into his 4th. So we'll never know. There's obviously arguments for both, but he didn't stay, and we'll never see that scenario play out. A trend up and McAvoy in. Is that the right call? Again, you tell me. I've heard arguments for both. I've heard that it's a lazy hire, and it's a cheap option, and his voice is going to be no different to Alex Neil's. I've heard that. And then I've also heard, he did really well in the 8 games, and it is a new voice, and it wasn't working, and there's the continuity, and he knows the squad and all of that good stuff. You know as well as I do that if they're in the, I don't know, if we go into round 30 next season and they're 8th, it's a good choice, or higher. If we go into round 30 and they're 18th, it's going to look a bad choice, and he's going to be in trouble, isn't he? So proof's in the pudding there, isn't it? 21-22 expectations. What next? Remember, Preston have punched their weight, haven't they? No parachute money, small commercial revenues, not massive gates. They've done the recruitment game very, very well, but Hemmings, the owner, still has to write a cheque every year to cover those losses. I feel they need to develop another big sale at some point to help Frankie McAvoy, because if we are going into next season and there's not really anything particularly added on top of this, then you would worry if a lot of the loan players have also gone back. What's the par? Is he going to match 13th, or is it going to be a bit lower than that? Can you get the same players higher than 13th? On the basis of his 8 games, they'll definitely finish higher than 13th. But can he then roll that momentum out over 46 games? Hard one to tell, isn't it, with only an 8-game sample size of McAvoy as manager. And with that being said, I'll plead the fifth on it and be very unsure as to where I put Preston in my pre-season predictions, the 1 to 24. There we go. That is my Preston season review. A little bit of a hodgepodge. Not ideal, but 13th still. I'm sure plenty of fans have swapped places. Plenty of those teams below would swap places with 13th. And let's see if Frankie McAvoy gets a run at it next season. I've had my say. Now you have yours in the comments. Let me know what you think about Preston's season and anything I've said and what your views are. Interested to hear. And what you think will happen next season. What's the expectation? What would be good? What would not be good? Let me know down there in the comments. Plenty of these season reviews up. As I said at the top of the video, we're banging them out now. So do check them out. I'll tweet a playlist of them all in. But we are getting through my plan to do a season review for every single team I cover, which is 24 in the Championship, 5 in the Premier League and 1 in League One. By God. Wow. Okay, I think we've done it. Get involved in the comments. That was our Preston season review 2020-21. And I will see you for the next one, which is Stoke. I think I'm going to be complaining in that one as well. All right, thanks for watching. Over and out. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button to see more videos from this channel. Hit the subscribe button and to be notified every time we upload. Ring the bell for those notifications to come through on your device. If you really want to support the channel and me as a content creator, I will be eternally grateful if you head over to the merch store and grab something, or support over on Patreon, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. Thank you for your time. Go and watch another video.